Century, the Better Business Bureau has set the standards for how businesses should operate honestly and ethically. So when you're looking for a business you can trust, check to see who's BBB accredited and who isn't. Always choose the better business. Look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
If you're a small business owner in Fayette County, think about everything you need to help your business succeed. You need a plan, happy customers, steady cash flow, and an insurance agent that gets you. State Farm agent Nathan Ferguson runs a small business in Uniontown, too. He understands the unique needs of local business owners. He'll make it easy to choose the right protection at the right price, because the one thing you don't need is insurance stress. Call State Farm agent Nathan Ferguson for your small business needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Bring the whole family to Mike Kelly Toyota of Uniontown. Bring the whole family to Mike Kelly Toyota of Uniontown this Thursday from 11 to 3 for their Customer Appreciation Celebration. It's completely free and open to the public. Enjoy a delicious lunch catered by Chick-fil-A, plus drinks from the Roaming Bean Coffee Truck. They're also giving away incredible prizes, including a Blackstone Grill, a fire pit, and Pittsburgh Pirate tickets. Join the fun this Thursday from 11 to 3 at Mike Kelly Toyota, 1 Mary Jane Wood Drive in Uniontown.
Who's your daddy? Montgomery Gentry! Kick it! His cows get loose and run right through the fast food parking lots. And Daddy gets calls from the mini malls when they're downwind from his hogs. When his tractor backs up traffic, the reception ain't too warm.
And good afternoon. This is your local station, 590 and 101.1 WMBS. And joining us on this Wednesday afternoon, Larry Daugherty and Beth Ann Bossio. Guys, how we doing? Good afternoon.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. What brings you into the studio today? What's going on?
Well, Beth, you're the owner of, was it Quarter Pine Tree
Quarter
Farm?
Pine Tree Farm. Well, my stepdad is the owner, but I work for him and will be someday the future owner of it.
And from what I understand is that there's a lot of hoop going around about the transmission lines. And I guess that's what we want to talk about a little bit, if you're all right with that.
Oh yeah, I've been always willing to talk
Great.
about that.
And mainly it's about your personal experience as far as I'm sure there's a lot of stress.
Yes.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So this started for us about March of 2025. So
Wow.
over a year we've been dealing with it. The first knowing about it, we received the postcard in the mail. Anybody in the area of where the potential study route received them. And then later that year, in March of 2025, we saw that we were one of the potential routes. They, had that online. And so ever since seeing that purple line through our farm, not only our farm in PA, but we also have a farm in West Virginia,
Okay.
the route was near there. So ever since seeing that purple line of a proposed route, it's sick to your stomach feeling of the unknown.
Oh, yeah.
And so then since then I've been passionate about raising awareness of the project and for people to understand it, as well as figuring out how to protect the farm as well.
Okay. I mean, obviously, you guys raise Christmas trees.
Yes.
And it's not just an overnight process.
Yeah. Yeah. So with this, when everybody started thinking and how it was kind of proposed to people in open houses, people thought that this line would feed power to our area. It's basically an extension cord from Greene County to move power from that area to Virginia. Everybody that knows a little bit about Virginia, they a couple years ago have wanted to shut down generation to become more clean. Doing that and then welcoming a ton of data centers to the area have created a major issue of power needed in that area. So with us having PA and Greene County and everything that's feeding into that station there to move that power, they're basically wanting to degrade other states to make what they need down there.
Okay.
It's no benefit for our area.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. And I also try to explain to people that this line is built on the backs of ratepayers. So this isn't being paid for by the data centers. This is paid for in your electric bill, even if the line is not going across your property. It is one of the things that I've learned in the complex of the energy world is that it is not the way it's been built was not ready for these large loads of data centers. And so you've seen so many elected officials trying to figure out how they can protect their constituents. Charity Graham Krupa has been amazing with trying to figure out what she intervened and protested. And the commissioners as well, they protested the application. And so I've been grateful for a lot of them. But across the state in PA, there's been a lot of elected officials trying to come up with bills to protect us from these types of transmission line. The issue is there's a lot of things that is complex that they can't do. Congress needs to change a lot of things of how stuff's done. But I am hopeful, but we basically rely on the Pennsylvania PUC will make the decision if this line is approved or not.
Now, if they would happen to approve this, God forbid,
Yeah.
do you guys have any alternate plans to be able to put your farm in a different direction?
So with this, I don't want to say that we're lucky. We are not the main proposed route. So there's routes A through F, and it's very confusing. So there's A is the main route, B, and then we are C. Route A and B go through Cooper's Rock State Forest in West Virginia, and then C is the route that you have no idea, and it's very confusing in both state of how this line could easily move. That's been done in West Virginia. I know of a transmission line that during the process, it moved out of a HOA, a development neighborhood, onto other property owners that did not think that they were in it. And so I've tried to tell everybody, protect yourself if you're in the route study, no matter what, because the line could easily move. So for us, it would be devastating for the farm. I was trying to work on, Jim bought half of the farm back from his sister. We're called Quarter Pine Tree Farm because many years ago, Jim's sister had quarter horses on the farm. A lot of people don't know the history of that. And he bought her house from her, and I had started turning it into an event venue and putting money into it. We stopped because if this line comes through there, what bride would want to, not even to have it but I don't know, during the construction, could it shut us down even when we're trying to open? There's so many things that could hurt us. It's going through 2 of our seed orchards, and those trees are tall. So it is a ripple effect of what it could affect us. It is hurt me in a way. When I came on, I've always worked for the farm for many years, but I came on full time in 2021. Many farms have to supplement and diversify to stay afloat. And looking at agritourism and some of the ideas I had, a transmission line is not pretty.
No, it's not.
And so that's why I've had to back off of some of my dreams before I see what happens with this. And financially, we've had to hire an attorney to represent us. When you are a business, the law says you have to be represented by an attorney. So this has been a financial strain for us as a small farm. If you're a regular landowner, you don't have to have representation. That's some of the frustrating things. Every single roadblock we hit, my stepfather said, let's just keep on pushing to protect the farm. And I think any farmer feels that way. You got to do what you can to protect your land.
Oh, absolutely. And getting back to the financial issues of it, you'll never be able to recoup that money that you're putting out.
No.
And the lost revenue or the potential lost revenue as well. I mean, that could go on for decades.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. A lot of these people that don't understand and called us NIMBY from the get-go is that you don't get paid a lot of money. And, have we been offered anything yet? No. But from what I've heard, it's very minimal per acre. That's an easement. It's not a monthly payment like oil or, satellite on your property. That's a one-time thing. You do not get paid for the devaluation of your property. So this is forever what you can potentially ever do underneath that line. You're limited. It's devastating to property owners. Every story is unique of how it could affect somebody. The stories I've heard have been heartbreaking. I've become friends with so many of them. That's the one thing I will say. The positive thing in this is the friendships of becoming closer to our PA, neighbors and meeting people has been the lifeline in this, becoming closer. And I was so proud of a lot of the people in our area that boots on the ground that did some amazing things. The owner of Bull Feathers was amazing what she did as and to get people to sign the petitions. And so yeah, it is a uneasy feeling of the unknown, but also the fact that you realize you really don't own something.
Yeah, and I totally get that. I mean, as a farmer myself, I mean, and I know they're pushing, it's different, but, EQT is coming in, and, if you don't own the mineral rights, and it's pretty much the same thing. They can come in and do things, and to a certain extent. But, I mean, in your case, I mean, you're talking about, generations that's going to be affected.
Yeah, and if it comes through our farm, I will have to change our vision of how we will operate our farm. Do I have a game plan for that? No, but photographers is a way that we also diversify, and I've told them, like, hey, if this line comes through our farm, you'll have to look for another place to do sessions. These photographers are very creative and talented, but can they make our farm look pretty now with this potential? There's 3 to 4 new towers that would go on our property.
Wow.
Just looking at the way that the line would go. And a lot of people don't realize, oh, well, once they get approved, you know where it's going. No. By law, they have the right, once they go through, they can move it 500 feet this way, 500 that feet, and they have no, the the PAPUC, that's the law of that. So you can feel comfortable once it approved that they said, okay, we'll go through there, but once the engineering come through, that they can change that. So the potential loss of, if we're shut down as they're building it, the loss of those customers, I mean, there's endless reasons of why this will hurt us. I've had to learn about FERC, NERC, all these different things in the last year, but I've also been impressed with so many people in the energy world. You do not realize the stuff that goes on to keep the lights on. And there's been people that have come that I've become close with that are retired in the energy world that have taught me so much, and they become friends, and they've said from the get-go, this is just the beginning. If you look through the PJM stuff, this is the beginning. So if this gets approved, we are setting a precedent of what's coming next, and we will, when Virginia's data center alley, we will become transmission alley, and our agritourism in the area, and those kind of stuff. So I've looked at this from the get-go. I never want to look up at those transmission lines and have had any regrets. I'm going to help anybody, do anything I can. And I keep on, it's like one of those things, I keep on thinking that someone's going to come out and say, hey, this isn't fair, we're going to stop this. That person hasn't come out of the woodwork yet. But I'm hopeful that we have all formed together, and we will continue to fight. And hopefully the decisions made will put a stop to this. The generation is needed near where the load need is, and that needs to be in Virginia, and Virginia needs to make some changes to stop ruining, other states surrounding. West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland should not have to be hurt by what their needs are. And there's those landowners in Virginia that are being affected by this too, that are asking for this. So I'm sympathetic and empathetic to them as well, even though they're in the state that made the decisions. But there's landowners in that state that are hurting by this land. And I keep on saying, well, is this transmission line running through those wineries in Virginia? Nope. Well,
and that's what I was just telling my wife the other day. I said, these transmission lines, the Virginia doesn't want them because of the pristine farmland. Obviously, Washington, D.C. can't house them. But, when you drive through Virginia and there's a lot of flat land, beautiful land, they don't want to mar it up, but it's okay for them to mar Pennsylvania and West Virginia up in Maryland because they're not looking at it. You folks are looking at it, and it's just it's unfair.
And I understand life is unfair and nothing is perfect, but whenever you look at this and you see how these companies make a lot of money, and PJM only has their job is to keep the lights on, and then they can only draw a line across the state to move power from one way to another, but they don't have the way to bring generation on. Seems like there's a missing piece that needs to be solved here. And somebody that I think that everyone should follow and learn a lot from is Mark Christie. He's a former FERC commissioner, actually grew up in West Virginia. He has wrote some amazing things, and you can learn a lot about what he's tried to say. Cost causers are the data center. Why are ratepayers and consumers like us having to pay the price of what the cost causers are. And I'm not repeating exactly what he says, but look up Mark Christie, read about what he has said. He's retired now, but he is a very knowledgeable guy that I think could solve I keep on saying this guy needs to come back and solve these issues. And then there's another person that's been amazing resource, Karen Newman. She has a website called stoppathwestvirginia.com. She helped stop the PATH project. I think that was, 17 years ago. I don't know how many years ago. She does a great job explaining how the complicated energy world. She does a great job in writing blogs to explain to people. If you look up Newman versus FERC, she uncovered a lot of the stuff back then that was going to be paid by ratepayers for a project that never, the propaganda of the companies that put out. So there's been some amazing people that I've connected with that are passionate and knowledgeable and are a guiding light on all of us when we're trying to figure this stuff out.
Oh, yeah, and I know it's a lot of flack on Facebook. One of the things is that it's going to create jobs, but it's not going to create jobs because most of the time they're going to bring their contractors in from out of state.
Yeah. That's been hard to read because I never want any union workers to feel that I'm trying to tell them that they don't. But if we put our foot down and say, hey, bring industry here, I'm not talking about data centers, but the more we feed power to another state, that means we're not allowing industry to come here.
Absolutely.
And the more long-term jobs we would have for them. But if you look at their application, they talk about who they are planning to hire. They say they will try, I forget how they word it, but that's not given. That's not a positive. And those are dirt mover, but they say that they need to use their expert team, and that's an application. I don't want to say what it's worded exactly, but if you read their application of how they word that, it's not a given that it's going to be given to local jobs.
Absolutely.
And when you talk about what could possibly happen during the construction of all that, a lot of people that don't realize is you may not even know that there could be an area where they're the landing area for all their stuff, and that's the things I worry about, like where we're driving, they shut down certain roads. I mean, this is a long project to be built, and the destruction of what would come from it, I don't think people realize because they haven't done a good job visualizing what it will look like. And a lot of people have struggled even figuring out where these lines are going to because the website is not user-friendly.
Yeah.
Back in May of last year, you could see, you could put your address in and you could see your home, your buildings, your farm. Then all of a sudden, when they announced in September of last year the actual proposed routes, that feature was gone. And now it's just like an overview, topography map or whatever, and it's not easy. And I'm like, well, why was that feature available back in May and not now? I've spent many times at the library. I probably spent more time at the library recently than I did when I was in college. But all the binders of maps, to actually see there in hand, because when you go online to try to download the maps at the PA site, it's such a large file at your computer. So going to the library, did they select the best libraries? No, Greene County. I don't know if they have what location there, but the hours of those libraries, and I know libraries funding isn't great, but they did not put them in a place that people can easily access, especially people that don't, but I went through and I try my best to look and take pictures and send to people so they could see and understand where the line was going. But it has not been an easy process for people to understand and really know, and that's what's been frustrating.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And also that, with some of the naysayers is saying that, transmission lines are good and things, they're not putting the human side to it. And I've seen so many people say, well, it doesn't affect me, but it affects you because it affects your neighbor. It affects, quarter pine tree farms. It affects people that you may not interact every day, but where do you get your Christmas trees at? And
I think the world would be a better place if people were more compassionate and empathetic to their neighbor.
Absolutely.
And if people understood more about that soon, when we talk about our electric bills, they're going to start seeing as these lines go up, their bill is going to go up and up, and almost everyone pays an electric bill. And when you talk about if this line goes through our property, we can go to the assessor and say, hey, this devalued our property. think about all the areas, not just for our land, but people that can see the line from our property, our
Absolutely.
neighbors. Everybody can go and say this devalued. You know what that means? Less money.
Less
going-
taxes.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's so I have had a different outlook when I've heard stories. I've tried to think about the person, you know, I try to always see both sides to every story. Everybody kept on saying to me, you know, someone asked me like, what would make this fair? I can't find it. I can't find that. And I don't even think when someone said there's no price that someone could tell me right now, because I don't know how bad this will hurt our farm from now until 20 years, and whoever takes over the farm after me. I want to do what I can to protect it, so no matter what the vision or what needs to be done, I don't want families coming out to the Christmas tree farm and not having the beautiful area and the one field in our future field that we will be. I don't want them to feel as though they're underneath a transmission line and the ugliness of that. That's not the experience I want.
No, and the bad thing is once something like this happens, it can never be taken back.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and that's the problem.
Yeah.
And I mean, when we're driving down, even on 43, you can see the beautiful mountains, you know, on Route 40 and things. And you can't put a price tag on the view.
No.
You know, I mean, Fayette County has a lot of issues, but it also has a lot to offer.
Yeah,
and
we
the
are.
view is one of them.
Yeah, I just don't think people, because until they start seeing it, and then I think that's the hardest thing is once something happens, then people all of a sudden will like, wait a minute, we didn't want this. Well, where were you a year ago?
Exactly.
People still can protest the application. The time to intervene has passed, but you still can. If you go to the Office of Consumer Advocate, I will say that PA is very lucky. They have an amazing Daryl Lawrence and his team, Jacob and Melanie. That is one thing I will say with Pennsylvania that they are doing right, that they have funded the Office of Consumer Advocate very well. They did a ton of open house. I mean, like I think we did one open house, and then they had a couple other things, and Charity made sure that people that didn't have internet at home could come in person, and they explained the process. They have a website. I think it's I don't want, if you Google Office of Consumer Advocate, they have PowerPoints that you can read and understand through what the process is, and also find out how you can still protest the application. And a lot of people say, well, that doesn't matter. No, it does. Your voice always matters. Soon, we don't know when those are going to be. There's going to be public comment hearings. And so my ask to everybody is, you know, when you intervene, there's certain things you can and cannot do. But I think it's important that anybody that's being affected by this should come out and speak at those. I'm sure Charity, if you follow her page, State Rep Charity Grim Cooper will announce it. I will announce it when those are scheduled. In PA, the next process is a teleconference hearing again. I think it's towards the end of July this month. Anybody can call in and listen in. It's I will try to share that on my social page for people, but you learn a lot of the process of how that's done. They recently posted who all they approved to intervene. You can read through all that stuff about the potential property owners. And I think the one thing someone said to me, oh, I think that person signed. If somebody signed with NextEra an easement agreement or whatever, I'm not mad at that person. My worry is that they didn't understand or were potentially lied to by a land agent or were not told all the information. Also, if someone needed that money to put food on their table, I'm not going to feel bad for them. I just have heard heartbreaking stories in West Virginia of people that signed early on because they were basically told by a land agent, the stories we've heard, that they said, if you don't sign this, there's potential going to be blackouts and your power will go out. That, you know, they're supposed to follow a code of conduct. And I didn't have these conversations with the land agents myself, but I've heard some stories where they really have persuaded people to think that if they didn't sign now, that they would never get money, and that's not true.
Yeah, and also too is that of course the main thing is I forget the wording of it, but basically where they can come and take your land as well.
Eminent domain is a scary word.
Yeah, it is.
And also, I struggle spelling it. But there's different spellings, but eminent domain is a horrible word, and that is the I would say the worst case scenario when that time comes. But that is where you still have a chance to be paid fairly. There's different ways of how that's done, of how that they look, and every person's paid differently. And that's really when you'll need a good eminent domain attorney to help negotiate. And these easement agreements, I've heard from people that have signed, if this isn't approved, I believe NextEra can sell that easement agreement to somebody else. You no longer own that. That's my understanding. So those are the heartbreaking stories that I worry for the people that signed that didn't really understand and were potentially given not clear guidance from the land agents. So I hope we don't reach that point.
Yeah.
I always tell people be prepared for that. Understand that step, so then that way they're not caught off guard by it. But I'm just going to keep holding out for hope that it's not approved. That this sets a goal of changing how power to the data centers in Virginia is done, rather than abusing and taking people's land that they own and have cared for years is wrong.
Yeah, and I'm going to urge every listener to kind of educate yourselves about it and stand up for your neighbors. I mean, it may not affect you personally, but it's going to affect somebody you know or somebody that somebody knows. And, I mean, we've got to come on, as, we got to protect our resources. And we got to protect our farmers. We got to protect our landowners. We got to protect our county. And we got to protect this beautiful view that we have in Fayette County. And, with transmission lines and things like that, I mean, it's going to, like you said, devalue our property, devalue the views. And if you're trying to get tourism in, what's the last thing that you want to see? Big data centers, and you don't want to see transmission lines. Right. So, it's kind of it's a no-brainer, in my opinion.
And I think Quarter Pine has always been, we are very lucky for the community in this area that have always supported us from when my stepdad started back in the early 90s. But we had a petition at the counter at 2025, this past choose and cut season, and the amount of people that signed my petition. And, I didn't know, people get scared about signing that kind of stuff, but I sent in, I think, 15 or 14 pages of signatures, and the amount of people that have sent us messages, sent us well wishes, I will always be thankful for the support that the community has shown us during this. And I think that's been, like I said earlier, one of the beautiful things. But I hope people understand the reason why I made my page a way to communicate is because I wanted people to know and understand not just about our story, about our farm, but to make sure people were aware, so that they knew that this was happening and they understood that they as ratepayers would be paying for it.
Yeah, and it speaks volumes for you. I mean, and it speaks volumes for Quarter Pine Tree Farms as well, of what you guys have taken on, because obviously the stress, like you said, the not knowing, I mean, that's got to be hard.
Every night at dinner, we're one of those families that we still sit down every night at dinner, and my boyfriend has said, will there ever be a night that we don't talk about the transmission line? And I said, probably not until this is over, because it's been since March. I mean, it's been go, 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 every day something new, and we're having to watch everything that's happening at the PUC as well as the West Virginia PSC, because we're trying to make sure our farm in West Virginia is protected as well. So it's been nonstop, but it's also been I'm proud of everybody in all the states that have stood up and rallied together. It's a testament of what people will do to protect our land, protect our resources. So I've been very proud to watch people do that, and but I've been tired.
I'm sure. I mean, sleepless nights and early mornings.
Yes. Yes.
And the stress. The stress wears you out. I mean, not only because you're a farmer. But because now you've got this added compound going on, and I can't imagine the stress level.
Yeah, I wrote an article for. In the Christmas tree world, there's an amazing magazine, the Greater Lakes Christmas Tree Magazine, and every state submits what's going on. And I submitted a letter about the transmission line, but I also thanked all the area farmers that had reached out to me to say, like, what can we do? And also, there's been some farmers that are dealing with this line in PA, another line, and they reached out to me, and I love the fact that I was a resource for them to say, this is what you need to do. But yeah, it's one of those things where I have the amount of time that I've spent fighting this has been wrong. Very, very much. It's cost us a lot of extra money to the time that I've spent that I haven't been focusing on other things, and sometimes I have to cut myself off and say, okay, I got to focus on the farm to keep it going. But it's when you need to do whatever you can to protect the thing that keeps a roof over your head. And my stepdad has worked many years to build his farm and his orchards, and to have those ruined for this, it would be a disgrace.
It would, and again, coming back to the stress and the time, like you said, it takes a lot of time away from what you need to do, that you could actually push the farm forward, not only because of the unknown, but because of the time that you have to.
That's been a heartbreaking thing. One of the stories, I won't name them personally, but there's been a family on the main route. They're not in PA, but they're in West Virginia, and they bought a home, invested their life savings to fixing it up, and then a week later, after they finished the construction, they received the postcard in the mail. The husband has had to go on medication because every night he was not sleeping. I mean, the toll that this has taken on people, that could you imagine you putting your life savings in your forever home and then getting a postcard that a tower is going to be placed right in the view, like that they're a farm as well as that's their home. So those are the things I think when people call someone NIMBY, and I'm thinking, you have no idea who you're calling NIMBY and what's happening. And then a lot of those people think that these people are going to be making millions of dollars, and that is not the case.
No.
That is not how much money they're going to get paid. And so, the talk about the mental health of this, I've seen it firsthand, and the amount of phone calls I've had with people. It has been, Harrison County in West Virginia had a public comment hearing, and you can watch that on YouTube. I spent my Friday evening, I was not able to attend that meeting, but I was watching on YouTube, sobbing, listening to some of the stories.
Wow.
The children of family members, and of what some of the farmland and homes that this line would ruin. It's heartbreaking and scary.
It is, and especially with the farms, you're never going to get that back, and that's what people don't understand. You could give somebody $50 million, but generation after generation after generation with these farms, you just never, you can never recoup enough money to make it pay for it.
And I see that a lot. A lot of our Christmas tree farms, we are wholesalers for transplants, and they are not solely Christmas tree farms. They're also dairy farms. They do other things, the Christmas tree farming, and they do anything they can to stay afloat. And when you talk about the statistics of how many farmers are the land going to go through a generation change and what could potentially happen, and when we're losing this farmland. And that's what I basically said to somebody. I said, look, like, I'm not young. I'm in my 40s, but when I decided to come on full time was to make sure I could keep this farm going. That is my goal. Is it a scary goal after my stepdad is gone to make sure that I can keep this farm a farm? Yes. Am I going to do whatever I can? But when I know now how quickly it can be ruined and taken for these types of things, it changes you, and it also scares you to think you can invest in land to keep it a farmland, and it can be taken away. And I think that's the hardest thing when you talk about people need to remember to support farmers locally, whatever you can do. Be sympathetic and understand what farmers do to keep the land a farm. The first thing you see when a farm is being developed, people go, oh, why are they doing that? Well, were you supporting that farm?
Exactly.
Let's remember what could have possibly led to what happened. It's one of those things that we need to be more in tune with, so we don't start seeing farmland changed over and potentially developed, whether that's being used. Data centers can be set up in certain places. That makes sense. But to lose potentially farmland, I could see a young farmer being a transmission line going through it and being like, why continue to farm this?
Yeah.
Why should I stay here? What am I going to do with this land now? I am always, the statistics are scary with the farming world, not just in the Christmas tree industry, but across the board. If you look at how much land and how many farmers are retiring, it is not financially, I was not able to work at the farm full time until 2021. You can't support a family anymore. So when you've got young kids moving away to do a different position and them not coming back and then doing what's fair by splitting it up, it's hard decisions have to be made, but when they're potentially having to be made because a transmission line is going through it for another state's benefit, that's a whole other ballgame.
It absolutely is. I mean, and again, with farming, you have so much hurdles to begin with, and you have so much stress. You guys with the droughts and everything like that. I mean, it's last year was a drought, even though Fayette County said it wasn't a drought. It was a drought.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. There's so much more behind the scenes of farms, whether it's Christmas tree farms, whether it's like I said, dairy farms, things like that. You're praying for the weather, then you pray for the rain to stop. And
yeah, we're always at the mercy of Mother Nature.
it is.
And it's one of those things where you can have the best dirt and to grow a Christmas tree, and if you're relying on Mother Nature, she can really, really throw you, whether it's too much rain or not enough.
Yeah.
And that is what I hate seeing and talking to people, and you don't really realize when you see these posts saying, like, please pray for our farmers, and North Carolina, some other areas that are dealing with drought right now. It's scary.
It's a real thing. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's, even to a certain extent with livestock, because obviously, you have to have hay, you have to have pasture, things
Yeah.
like that. And again, the folks that, go to Walmart, go to, Costco, whatever, they're not seeing the time and the effort
Yeah.
that it takes. And
yeah.
one of the presidents, I believe, said that, a farmer is the only person that pays freight both ways.
Yeah.
And it's true,
Oh, yeah.
because I'm sure, you have to dump thousands and, hundreds of thousands into your farm every year before you even make 1 red cent out of it.
Yeah. And one year we do transplants, and we bring those from Washington State in reefer trucks. And starting in January, the year of COVID, double was what we originally quoted for. It was double, and we had already set our prices, and so our margins, that year, did we know? I mean, no one was prepared for
Yeah.
COVID. But yeah, freight. I mean, when people talk about, I know how much these prices, and let me tell you, truck driving is not an easy,
No.
and a lot of people don't realize like how hard that life is. And so I'm not going to ever say, oh, those numbers are ridiculous. But when it comes down price, and then the people are blaming the farmers, well, they don't realize what it took to get that product there.
Exactly.
It's very hard. I mean, we do deliveries in a 26-foot box truck. We travel the Northeast delivering our transplants, and I never realized the life of a truck driver until I started doing that. Now, we were doing 2 to 3 day routes, but we'd travel about 7,000 miles in a couple months.
Wow.
But we loved getting to go see some of our, I get to see beautiful Christmas tree farms all along the Northeast. Some of these farmers are wheat farmers as well as other types of farmers. So I get to really see these guys.
Okay.
Some of the ones in PA that just went through the frost, nothing.
Yeah.
What do they do?
Yeah.
And so seeing those things firsthand, when you actually know the person and you see the devastation of what has happened to their crop, you have a different outlook when you go to the grocery store. And I don't ever question why something is what it is, because I know exactly what it took to get that product there.
Absolutely.
Our crop is a little bit different. No one's eating our crop. But we are, an amazing centerpiece for the holiday season, but we are also keeping a lot of green spaces. And a lot of these farmers that I tell you about, they are also the Christmas tree farm. Part of their piece is what keeps them afloat when they've had a bad year on other stuff.
Okay.
So that's a lot people don't realize in our industry, that a lot of these farmers diversified and figured out that when times are tough, the Christmas trees that they're selling on the farm are going to be their lifeline to keep them going.
And a lot of folks probably don't realize, too, is that farmers actually have a projected income that they're projecting to be able to make.
Yeah.
And they count on that, year after year after year.
Yeah.
So whenever Mother Nature, fails, COVID hits,
Yeah.
things like, any price fluctuation, and folks are complaining, okay, well, it costs $5 more for this Christmas tree, but it costs you guys $10 more to be able to produce this Christmas tree because of, different issues.
Oh, yeah. And we've tried to keep our prices low. We haven't raised them for a couple years, and that's hurt us. But we want to try to make sure that, The other option is our biggest competitor, the artificial tree, which 90% of them are imported from China.
Yep.
So I always tell everybody there's so many different ways that you can support a Christmas tree farm. You don't have to come buy a tree. You can buy a wreath, or you can buy a tree and put it on your front porch.
Yeah.
Trees for Troops is an amazing program that I support 100%. So I always tell people, like, hey, I don't want to, I'm not going to judge somebody because they have an artificial tree,
Yeah.
but if there's ways that you want to support the industry, there's other things. In the Trees for Troops program, you can donate online, and they make sure to get a real Christmas tree in the hands of military people during the holiday season. It's an amazing program. So there's other ways that people can support us other than just buying a tree at a farm. And I tell everyone, those trees that you see at a box store, they're coming from a family-owned farm as well. And actually, a lot of people don't realize a farm here in Smithfield, PA, our farm, we supply a lot of that tree seed. So you may see a tree at a Home Depot, may not come from our farm, but they might have used the seed from us that we process from our orchards at either our PA farm or our West Virginia farm. So a lot of people don't realize are supporting us, even though you may not be buying a tree from us at our farm.
Well, and the nice thing about, like, I know we come to your farm a good bit to buy Christmas trees.
Yeah.
And, one of my sons, he's 26 now.
Yeah.
One of his favorite memories is whenever I got a saw and was cutting it down. Of course, he was little at the time, and then, of course, as he grew, we continued doing it. And you can't put a price tag on the memories.
No,
I
100% agree.
And it's a great family outing. And, it's to go walk through the farm and pick out your own tree and things like that. And that's the biggest thing, is the experience.
Yes.
And whenever a transmission line or a data center or whatever comes in, you're taking these experiences away from not only, you're hurting the farmer, but you're also hurting generations of folks that's coming out to the farms and getting that true home down experience.
Yeah, and I love hearing stories about that those people, even in their 20s, had memories of that at our farm. That is what we grow our trees for those experiences, not just when you take your tree home, but when you come to the farm. I want to create a magical environment, and it's not going to be magical if I have a ugly transmission line going through our field. But statistics show that some of the best childhood memories are usually the ones that are about centerpiece, like of the Christmas tree. The kids talk about that, and I think that's what has made parents. I see a lot of people that will say, coming to your farm is one of my favorite days of the holiday season, and that brings me so much joy to know that is what they think about when they think of our farm. It's one of their most joyous experiences with their family, and that's what we build our farm for.
Well, I think we're just about out of time.
Well, that went fast,
And
Larry.
it's Beth from Quarter Pine Tree Farms. And folks, again, come out and support a great family business for your next Christmas tree. And we look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
All right, guys, great stuff. Thank you so much. This is WMPS.
Some things just go together, like bread and butter, blue jeans and Saturdays, best friends and phone calls. And a great match? You and discounts from Erie Insurance.